People always tell me, hey, I think that I'm eating dinner too late. That's why I'm not losing fat. That's why I can't lose weight. I'm likely just eating dinner too late. So I made a video about it. What's good, YouTube? It's your boy John Mango, and I'm back again representing Beyond the Iron. What else would I represent? I drop weekly fitness content on this channel to help you get to your fat loss and fitness goals faster and more enjoyably. So if you're interested in doing that, then consider subscribing. Listen, is timing that important? Well, I'm about to get into that for you, but one thing I can tell you for sure is that the food selection is important, okay? So you want to make sure you're including the best foods to help with your weight and fat loss, and I actually put together a guide of the top 10 superfoods to help you lose weight and help you do it quick. So if you're interested in grabbing that guide, just click the link down below at the top of the description and grab yours. I put meal timing and meal frequency in basically the same category as it pertains to the hierarchy of the importance, okay, I know it might be getting a little confusing, but the hierarchy of importance when it comes to actually dieting for fat loss. I do want to mention that I'm going to reference any and all studies that do apply to anything I'm saying here, and just for you to read further if you'd like to at the very bottom of the description, so go ahead and check those out if you'd like. Let's just put it this way, in comparison to the base of the pyramid, they're pretty insignificant, okay? Frequency and timing, pretty insignificant, because the base is calories. Now you hear me say it all the time, and guess what? I'm still not getting sick of it. I'm gonna still keep telling you it. Calories are king. Well, actually adherence is king, okay? And we'll get into a little bit more about how meal frequency and timing can come into that, but calories are the base of the pyramid. You must know that first. You must use that first. Now, unless you're eating for a competitive performance reason because you're an athlete or something like that, then the actual timing of when you have that dinner won't negatively impact your fat loss results over the long term, but it will do a few things that you might want to take note of. So one of the things is it's going to fluctuate your morning weigh-in the next day. If you weigh yourself every morning, which you should, and if you haven't seen why, click that video to find out, but if you weigh yourself every day, you will notice a rather larger fluctuation, or at least typically you do, the morning after you eating a late meal. And this is especially true if you ate later than you're used to eating, and even more especially true if you ate a large meal a lot later than you're used to eating. However, going back, if you do weigh yourself every day, this won't be an issue so long as you stick back to your normal schedule of eating where you eat, a little bit earlier before bed. Then regardless, all the daily weigh-ins are just going to iron that issue out for you. Remember, the daily fluctuations are not very important. The calorie deficit over the days, weeks, and month is actually ultimately the bigger picture that's going to lead to your results in the end. Now, something else to take note of, I mentioned having a big meal late at night. Now, having a very heavy meal very shortly before sleeping can actually negatively impact your sleep, okay? That's something to be very aware of, because actually, if you're not getting a high quality of sleep, that could indirectly over time negatively impact your metabolism, for example, which means it will slow down, you will burn less calories, and actually your body will be more enticed to burn less fat and more muscle if sleep quality keeps suffering. So definitely make sure that it's not a habit that you eat, right before you go to sleep. Now, I've had this habit in the past and I put on a lot of body fat when doing so. But again, don't think that it's because I had the meals late at night. It was a combination of doing that and being in a huge caloric surplus that led to my fat gain. However, had I had better quality sleep from not eating such a massive meal right before bed, then I could have translated to a little bit more muscle. And also, it's very important, obviously, if you're not getting deep sleep and you're not as rested, the chances of you adhering to your diet, in other words, sticking to it, not having as many cravings later on at night the next day, it's very important to get that deep sleep, and you don't want to disrupt it. So as a health practice, I do recommend getting it at least an hour before going to sleep. Obviously, things happen, and if once, blue moon, once in a while you have to have it and then go to sleep, no problem, I understand, but just make sure that you don't make it a bad habit. Now, the last thing to note is that cravings and willpower, willpower is down at night. Decision making is tougher at night. This is why most people always go off at night, right? So this whole thing about not eating after 6 p.m. is not actually a physical physiological thing, but more so a psychological, in the sense that if you eat something later on throughout that day, let's say you have your meal, let's say it's chicken and rice, classic example, right? Let's say you have that, the chances of you wanting dessert and actually giving into craving going for that dessert is going to be much higher. So you minimize that risk by making sure that you're eating well before you go to sleep, well before those late time hours where your willpower is depleted. So simple way to combat this and any of these issues that I mentioned before, which again, they aren't so big unless you're making the bad habit of always having a big dinner right before bed. If you're not doing that, then you're fine. That's ultimately the point of this video, is it does not matter what time you're having dinner at. However, make sure you're filling up your diet with the foods that I listed in the free food guide down below, so that you can make sure you're maximizing fat loss. But here's my recommendation, just to make sure that you're getting the most out of your sleep and out of your dinner if you're gonna have it late at night, and that's gonna be to get the bulk of your calories, most of your calories throughout the day. Make sure that they are earlier on throughout the day. You can save a little bit for after work or after the workout if you work out later in the day, just again to make sure that it's light, easy, and quick to digest, just enough to fuel you. Make sure you're not going to sleep too hungry to mess up your sleep, and that way you can sleep well and still get the nutrients in that you were looking for. Again, just to capitalize it, make sure that you're having satisfying foods for the most part, especially in that last meal, okay? Because again, if you don't have those satisfying foods, it could only increase the cravings, in which case, since your willpower is already down, the chances of you giving in and over time ultimately having a caloric surplus from doing that is higher. So just make sure you're having satisfying, nutrient-dense foods for the most part. Make sure you're pushing the bulk of the calories before 5, 4, 6 p.m., whatever the time that works best for you. But with that being said, I do want to mention, like I said at the beginning of the video, frequency can help with adherence, and timing can, because we got sometimes people like intermittent fasting. You can always try intermittent fasting to manipulate eating frequency, eating window, and timing to see if maybe that's something that you would prefer, and going to bed fasted and waking up and staying fasted for a while might be something that would increase your adherence. So that's something to keep in mind when it comes to frequency and timing helping with your adherence. Remember, it's usually the quantity of food that's consumed at night that's the issue, rather than the quality or the fact that you're having it at night at all. Anyways, I hope this helps. I hope you're a little bit less worried about your late night dinners. I hope you have some actionable steps. You're a little bit more informed as to what to do going forward. And again, just not to worry about having dinner late or after 6 p.m. Okay, I myself eat after 6 p.m. regularly, and whether it's fat loss or muscle gain, I'm still moving towards the goals for the points that I mentioned earlier in the video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate you. If you stayed around, comment down below what else you'd like to see and what you thought of this video. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Don't forget to share with your friends, and of course subscribe if you haven't already for weekly fitness content coming right here on this channel. Thanks again, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out.